What's the toughest thing about being a rock star?
There are some early mornings and some late nights sometimes. That can be a little difficult. I like to sleep, so waking up so early can be tough, but you know that you're going to be able to get up there and play in front of your fans every night, and that's what matters.
When you were younger and figured out you had diabetes, how did you put up with all the sugary temptations that your friends would snack on? Everything comes with hearts on it.
I think at first it was difficult to see things and maybe want it at that moment. But the thing about diabetes is that you can pretty much eat whatever you like. You just have to make sure that you take the right amount of insulin for it, and you only do it in smaller portions. So just learning all that at first, how many carbohydrates were in things, now I can just point at something and tell you. But it was difficult at first just to kind of walk through a grocery store and see the candy aisle and know that I obviously shouldn't have that. All of it, but I get a lot of sugar-free snacks and stuff from fans, which is great, very sweet, make me feel loved.
Have you ever had to miss a show or cancel because of diabetes?
My brothers and I were talking about that the other day, that we've actually never canceled a show. The only time that we had to reschedule something was because of weather, but no illness, diabetes has never caused us to cancel a show, thankfully.
Anna, who is age 9, asks how can she support her cousin who has diabetes?
One of the main ways I think that people can support their friends and family who have diabetes is to be there for them. What I talk about in this song a little bit longer is how no one can relate with what you're going through as an individual. They don't know what's going on inside your mind. They don't know what you're going through in your heart. But if they can say, I can't relate with you directly, but I'm here for you if you need me, that's the best thing. That's the best thing for me.
Speaking of the song a little bit longer, the line, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. What are you relating? What are you trying to express here?
Probably the chocolate cake, actually. I'm just saying. I think there's a deeper meaning to that. I hope so. Because wow. But the day when I wrote it, I was at the piano, and it was a tough day. My blood sugar was high, and it was low, and just wishing that it could just be normal, and it was just like everybody else. The cast is all great from the movie, and we have a lot of fun. But I was watching all of them, and they weren't being, rude in front of me, but just eating freely and kind of doing what they wanted, and it was like, oh man, I got to think about everything that I have to eat, and just wishing that I could just be normal and not have it for a day, maybe more than that, but. I think the song goes on to talk about the fact that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. You don't know what it's like to feel so low. But a little bit longer and I'll be fine. It's kind of the moral of the story.
What got you into singing and writing songs?
I've always had a heart for music from the time I was very young, 3, 4 years old. Wrote my first song when I was about 6. And my dad's a musician. He's incredible, very humble about it. But grew up in the house of music and just fell in love with it. I did some Broadway shows first. I did 4 Broadway shows from the time I was 7 to 11. And then went into recording music and writing and got more into that and started to see that was where my heart was. Wrote a song with my brothers, Kevin and Joe, and we became a group. And that was about 5 years ago now. And it kind of just happened from there. And it's been a long and fun journey, but we're having a great time.
How does being on Broadway compare with doing a concert?
Being on Broadway as compared to being a recording artist, doing concerts and things like that is much different. It was good training for what I'm doing now, and I'm so thankful that I did it. But very different in the sense where, Broadway show, it's every night and it's kind of the same thing. With a tour and with shows, you never know what it's going to be. You never know how the crowd's going to be. And you just have to be ready for anything.
What's your favorite song from your CD, Lines, Vines, and Trying Times?
Lines, Vines, and Trying Times was our most recent album. Came out in June. There's a song on there called The Black Keys, a song that I wrote on the piano. And at first it was a song that I had written just about the first song I've ever written on the black keys of the piano. And then as I started to write it, I saw that the concept kind of shifted from that into looking at life and seeing that sometimes looking at things black and white is much better than trying to throw color and mess up the pretty picture and the perfect picture. And it really stood out to me as a song that meant something to me personally. And I sing it every night, kind of a mashup of a little bit longer in the black keys. And the crowd sings along, and it's an amazing thing.
When you were little, did your parents make you practice the piano, and did it sometimes make you mad?
No, I don't think there was ever too much pressure on us to practice the piano in particular. I kind of picked up the guitar first and the drums and really fell in love with that. My dad's a pianist, and so I would kind of follow him and watch him do it, and he taught me a couple things. But just kind of taking the time to learn it on my own too and watch other musicians is kind of a lesson in and of itself. So my dad and other people that I've met along the way have really trained me as a musician.
Who is your musical idol and why?
I'm a big fan of Elvis Costello, Johnny Cash, Prince. Those are all big ones for me. And then Stevie Wonder, of course. Definitely a big inspiration.
What makes some of those folks special to you?
I've always been intrigued by Johnny Cash, his storytelling. Such great music, obviously, but the storytelling really stood out to me. And when I first picked it up, I started thinking, I want to write songs like this, where I can tell a story in the song. And Elvis Costello is just a very intelligent and kind of intellectual character, and then a musician as well. And it's always fun to see that.
Were you listening to your iPod this morning? And if you were, what were you listening to?
This morning I was watching SportsCenter, actually, I'll be honest. But last time I listened to my iPod, I was listening to a band out of the UK called the Zootons.
What's the favorite song that you've written?
Favorite song that I've written would probably be A Little Bit Longer. It means a lot to me. And it's probably my favorite song to play live as well.
Will there be a Camp Rock 2?
There will be a Camp Rock 2. We actually leave next week to go shoot it. So we wrap up the tour on the 31st and then start Camp Rock 2 on the 1st. So we got like a 12-hour break. Should be good.
Can you give us a little preview about Camp Rock 2 and what's going to happen?
Camp Rock 2, I've read the script. It's good. Looking forward to filming it. The cast is all great. Demi Lovato, one of our friends, has just had a #1 album, which is great for her. Very proud of her. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to getting up there and shooting the second installment.
Do you think you'll get your own action figure doll?
I don't know. I was asked this question before we started, and I hope so. Joe had one. He had like an action figure. It's more like a Barbie. And so that's why I'm a bit concerned. As long as I look like a G.I. Joe, I'm fine.
Well, it sounds like you have a pretty hard schedule there with only a 12-hour break. So what's your favorite part of touring, and what's the hardest part of touring?
I think the best part about being on tour is being able to play every night. Like I said, we remember the days where there were not as many people at the shows as there are now. And so being able to play is amazing. And then the tough part, I think it's all good. And we have a great team and a lot of fun when we're on the road. And we're coming towards the end of the U.S. Installment of the tour, and so it's kind of sad, but it's fun. We're having a great time. We're heading to Europe after we shoot Camp Rock up in Canada. And so we'll be busy for a while, but we're having a great time.